Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another really cool arcade game repair video for you today. We are still working on this Bally Rapid Fire arcade game. It kind of looks like a pinball machine, I understand that, but it's not really a pinball machine. There are no flippers. But we are down to, we've got it working good. We've got it cleaned up pretty good where it looks pretty nice. How do you like that red T-molding, people? We painted the top a little bit to get that a little better. Got it all looking pretty good. Got all the electronics done. This thing had rust all over it if you saw the other video. So we just painted it. Thing doesn't have to be perfect. It's a rapid fire. They're not worth that much anyways. But we are down to, we need the back glass. Look at that. No back glass. But we did get all three bulbs working. So if we had a back glass, it would look great. Now, it did come with the back glass, but the back glass is in god-awful condition. So we have looked online and we've tried to find a back glass, and we found a couple of them that were crazy expensive. You know, this isn't really a very valuable game at all, but we found a couple that were crazy expensive that we didn't feel like paying $250 for a back glass for this. I've seen them sell before for like 50 bucks, but not when you need one, you know. And we could print out a back glass because there's no, you know, there's no scores or anything in the back glass. It's just a piece of art. But we're going to try to save the one that we've got, which is in horrible condition. So we're going to try to save it with triple thick. If you've ever seen anybody do that before, I think we've done it on some of our videos. We're going to try to save it with triple thick, but the thing is in horrendous condition. So I'm going to bring it out and we'll look at how we found it in the game, and you can decide if it's even going to be possible. Or you could just fast forward to the end of the video and see if we did, but don't do that. That'd be don't do that. Don't fast forward. So this is what's left of our beautiful back glass. Can you believe that? Whew. Man. Now if you didn't see the first videos, they basically stored this thing in a barn for a while. Or a garage up behind their house, and for 20 years or something. So the whole thing was in this bad of shape, but we've got it much more presentable and got it working. That noise you're hearing, by the way, is the fan inside this thing. These things had a fan that blew the entire time from here onto the big coil that makes the gun shoot. So there's a fan inside cooling all that all. But anyway, so this back glass, of course it's backwards and upside down. Whenever it's mounted, the light shines through all of these lighter parts. It's blocked by these darker parts, so this is called masking. So it's masked. And you can see they did some creative stuff where they kind of feathered it in certain places. So all of the stuff that is flaked off, almost all of it, is actually the masking, the masked part. So what that means is, if you paint that back in, you don't have to worry about light shining through it. You can paint masking back on the back of it, which could be black paint, something like that, because that part actually doesn't light up. The parts that light up are the clear parts, and almost all of that is there. So this is, for instance, just a big chip that fell off of it of black paint. So, you know, maybe this goes here or something. And almost all of it's like that. Almost all of it is just big areas of the black that chipped off. There's a couple little spots that are the actual art, like right there. So this piece probably goes in there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to piece all of the pieces back in and make it look right. Let's see what we can do here. So this piece, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, goes right there. So the stuff that's got the art, we're definitely going to try to piece back in. The big black pieces, we may just repaint it black. I mean, no reason to go through all that if you can just paint it black, because it's just black art. So we'll mess with that a little bit. But the first thing I need to do is get all of the little pieces kind of where they go. And then what we're going to the way we're going to try to do it is we're going to take triple thick, which is like it's like a thick glaze almost that you use for, like, if you do pottery or something. And we're going to spray it. And I didn't come up with this. People have been doing this forever. We're going to spray it on the back glass in the places that are flaking or that are missing, and then we're going to press the stuff back down flat in the wet paint, clear paint, triple thick, and then we're going to put a cellophane over it, like saran wrap, and then we're going to put something heavy on it to keep it flat. And the reason you put the saran wrap is so whatever you put on it to hold it down doesn't get stuck to the paint. So, whew, going to be crazy, but we'll see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go put it somewhere better where I can work on it, and then I'm going to pull all of the black pieces off and put them to the side, and pull all the pieces that have art on them and see if I can figure out where they go. So we have very carefully cleaned the back of it, very gently, and we've got all of the parts that illuminate nice and clean, or as clean as we can get them. And the reason you have to do that is because we're about to spray paint triple thick all over this thing, and so you cannot clean it after that because now it's going to be under a layer of paint. You know, I had to get it perfect, but you know, it had dirt all over it, so we had to get rid of that. And so we pulled all the pieces off over here that have just a little bit of art on them. If you see, almost all of the art is there. And so like, so this piece, see how that just a little bit on the edge? So we might, you know, it might be obvious where that goes. We might piece it back in. I don't know how great that's going to look, but we'll see what we can do. And then there's a few more pieces over here that are generally just black. Now if you look, you can see there were areas where it was starting to do it. You know, we would have had some more problems soon, where it would have been even worse. The whole thing with this is Bally came up with a new way of doing back glasses in the late 70s. The first one I noticed it on was Lost World, but they also did it on Harlem Globetrotters. And basically it was some kind of new way of doing like a photo realistic back glass. And so it's just a different way of silk screening it. So there's like a, the reason that it does this is there's like the paint is in like a film on the back of the glass. And so if it's stored outside or in a place that's not temperature controlled, as it gets hotter and cooler, hotter and cooler, hotter and cooler, and this has been doing this for probably 20 years. But as it's been doing that in that garage that this was in, the glass is, you know, expanding and contracting just a little bit at a different rate than this stuff is. So over time of it, you know, doing this stuff peels away from the back glass and you get big chunks falling off. We had a Harlem Globetrotters one time where the entire middle had peeled off in one big, just, it was like a big sheet of it had just peeled off. It was the same thing as this, except it was just almost the entire back glass. So you see this a lot on this era of Bally's, unfortunately, if they haven't been stored right. So we cleaned up the glass as best we could, and I think what we're going to do first is we're just going to spot touch up a couple of these places, like right here. So we're going to spray a little bit of triple thick on it, and then put some saran wrap over it and put something heavy on it to keep it flat. And what that'll do is it'll push that piece that's flaked right back down into the triple thick, and the triple thick will dry and it'll basically glue it back flat on the face of the glass. So it's not going to look perfect in all the places that's done, and on this particular one, everywhere there's a piece that's came loose, you're going to see a little outline of that piece like a jigsaw puzzle on the front whenever the light's on it. So we might be able to, though, after that, paint black behind it and hide some of that. So we'll see what's going to happen. So I'll show you what the front looks like as of right now. It's going to be upside down, but I can't clean the front yet because I can't turn it over without breaking up more of this stuff off. So we're going to have to wait till we get farther along to clean the front. But this is what it looks like as of right now. As you can see, it's actually still in decent shape, and all of the major artwork is still there. It's just this black on the side's pretty bad. So luckily all of this over here should look pretty good, which is, you know, the main focus of the back glass. So on the right side of the back glass in the game, it's going to look a little weak, but hey, still a pretty good looking back glass. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, so we've just spot sprayed it, those two places that were starting to peel up. And then what I did was I took a Nintendo 64 game that, you know, we're a video game store, so we got stuff like that all over the place because it's pretty flat and fairly heavy. And I wrapped it in saran wrap. If you wrap the item that you're using to push it down, it seems to work a little better. I wrapped it in saran wrap, laid it on top of the flake of paint, which made it sit back down inside the triple thick, and then I put a couple heavy paint cans on top of it to hold it flat. And then we're just going to let it dry, and this is what we use: triple thick crystal clear glaze. You can get this anywhere. Well, you might not be able to get it at the grocery store, but you can get it at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, all that stuff. So we've done those two. We'll wait till that dries and then pull it off, and then we'll start working on the worst part. As you can see, I've got tons of triple thick on it, and I pieced that one little piece back in there as good as I could get it. Tried to make the line up perfectly, and now I'm going to lay my weight with plastic wrap on it, down on it, to get it to weigh it down and hold it in place until it dries. So we let it dry, and then once you let it dry, the saran wrap just peels right off. Like it could almost fall off. And so we had 3 spots that we did. This is one of them where we laid the flake back down. And you can see how the saran wrap leaves like an uneven texture on it. So that comes in, that's a problem whenever you have things like this where it's clear and you're going to repaint it. It leaves like an uneven texture behind it. And then that's another one that we laid down. So it is permanently flat now. And then this is one that we actually pieced back in. You know, that piece there, we pieced back in. But that's all flat now. As you can see, it's not perfect. You can see a little bit of the lines and stuff. But it's mainly all there. And then that is the other spot. And then the other one I think is right there. Oh no, right there, whatever. So, you know, it's coming together pretty good. So now we're going to try to do the big one. So I'm going to clean it off again, the glass, and then I'm going to try to do it all at one time. So I'm going to get it all wet. Another game just came back to life, people. I'm going to get it all wet with the triple thick, and then I'm going to carefully lay each piece in, and then I'm going to cover it all with saran wrap, and then I'm going to put big heavy books on it and keep it all nice and flat, and try to puzzle piece it all back in. We're missing a couple small pieces, but I can paint that back in. That won't be no problem. But we'll see if we can get the main part of it all pieced back in, which is this stack of paint chips here. So here we go. Keep your fingers crossed. So we sprayed the heck out of it, pieced everything in, carefully put saran wrap on it, and then put all kinds of weight on top of the saran wrap. So it's nice and flat. Put some books and get video games and all that. So we'll let that dry and see if it holds down flat. And then we'll carefully peel the saran wrap off and see what we've got to start with, because this is kind of just the start. You know, we have to touch it up after this. Let's see what we got. A day has passed. Get all of our weights off. So basically I was just trying to put stuff on it that would be flat. Don't worry, we didn't get any paint on Miss Aretha's book here. Let's see. So it's been a day, so this should be fairly dry. Let's see if this comes off easily. Yes. This peels right off. So let's see if all of it's flat or if there needs to be more. Nope, I don't see anything moving. All right, so everything's nice and flat and held down. Let's see. And you saw the shape this was in. I mean, this thing was destroyed. It was ruined. But it's back flat. So I'll flip it over and we'll see what the front looks like. Now that it's been triple thicked, it is safe to lay it down flat, so on its back. So you can see what we ended up with so far. So remember, of course, all of this was taped back in, and you can tell, but luckily the way this particular art was done, it kind of fits in. Like, you can't tell that much, you know? Like, see how you've got like the curls of the lettering? Well, that's kind of what's going on with some of this stuff where it, you know what I mean? Look, it looks pretty good. It kind of disguises it. Obviously it's not perfect. And there were a few chunks that we didn't have. Like, we didn't have this piece, we didn't have this piece, and we didn't have that piece. So there's 3 pieces missing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it in the machine and we'll see how bad it looks lit up, because that'll kind of give us a better idea. But you can see how horrible the conditions were this thing was stored in. That's a hole that was rusted all the way through the lift channel. You can buy this lift channel new, so that's probably a good investment. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I think we did really well so far. But let's go see how much of it we're going to have to touch up. So I'll slide it in the machine and we'll see how that looks. I don't know how well this will show up on this because of the way the sun is right now. I might have to wait till it gets dark. That's a little better. It looks really good just the way it is, but I can make it look better, so I'm going to. You can see the lines through it. If I paint, but see how this, like for instance, this black piece, that's one of the pieces we taped back in, by the way. See how no light lights that up? So if I paint these lines black, it'll make it look even better. It'll hide all of the cracks. So I'm going to go in and repaint this all black, paint all the lines black, repaint that all black, and then I'll paint around that all black, and then I'll paint that like a burgundy, and it'll look better than that. It won't look perfect, but I'll paint it like a similar color. This is all like a gradient, so it'll be hard to paint that in, but I'll paint that all like a red halfway in between there somewhere, and that will hide most of the damage. And so from a distance it'll look better than it does now. You can see over here there's a little bit of that going on too, those areas that were cracked. But I'll probably leave that alone because it doesn't look that bad, and you would probably, well, I don't know. I might trace all in with black too. Let's do that. I'll trace these with black, but I'll stop and I'll leave these, or maybe I can trace those with that red that I'm going to use here. So I need some black and I need some red. Let's turn off the lights. So this is what it looks like. Get your opinion on it. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Obviously it has some flaws, like there, but that looks pretty good, all things considered, considering what we started with. Not bad. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Just show you how to touch one of these up a little bit. If you get one that you're fortunate that all the pieces came out in big chunks. If it just the paint just dissolved and disappeared in little tiny flakes, you're kind of screwed. But if they're in big chunks like this, you can just glue them back on like we did. So leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film all this. We didn't have to do that, folks, but we brought you along for the ride. So leave your comments below, and now I'm going to film a video of me playing this thing so you can see what a rapid fire, I almost said pinball, what a rapid fire arcade game is like. So leave your comments below. Tell us what you think. Is this presentable? Would you have done it this way? Leave your comments below and we'll see you on the next video.